Welcome back to the Preach It Better podcast. I am stoked to talk and hear and learn from our guest today, is Pastor Tom from EHills in Aurora, Colorado. Yep. My friend, thank you so much for joining the pod today.
Thank you, man. It's good to be here. I'm excited.
I can't wait. You are our first non-American, if we can say that. That's not too, I don't know what you can say, what you can and can't say anymore. But yeah, you are our first across the pond cat, and I can't wait to talk about that as well. But obviously, I want to start here. There was a Tom, then there was a Pastor Tom. There was an inciting incident, a call to action, your road to Damascus. I would love to hear if that was an instant moment. Was it a slow burn? Tell me about your call to ministry and what happened there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, and even now, I think separating Tom and Pastor Tom are probably actually kind of healthy things to do. I think so. I actually didn't grow up Christian, so I kind of grew up in the Catholic tradition in that I went to church, maybe twice a year, Christmas and Easter, did the whole thing, did like whatever it's called, like the confirmation, kind of went through that. But it always felt distant to me. It felt like kind of legalism, and I'm not knocking the Catholic Church. It was just, for me, it just didn't connect. And then I went off to college, or we call it university, in Cape Town, and I just kind of did the wild living thing. I was that prodigal son, and for me, like, I think now I can see, looking back, it was all about ego. I think I grew up with like quite a hard father that, like, I was like performance equals love, which I think a lot of guys struggle with. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, and so it's like achievement. I was a competitive professional gymnast, and so like I was very competitive, and I did well at college. I did well. So I was like, I don't need God. I'm good. I'm the man. And so
what were your did you do all of the events?
Yeah, I was like an all-rounder. So I did my favorite were high bar and parallel bars, but I loved it. And that was my life growing up. So it was all like,
it has to be.
Yeah. And then got to college and just kind of went crazy, partying, girls, all the things. And I think eventually I just got to a stage where I was like, there's got to be more to life than this. I mean, it sounds cliche, but that's where I was like, is this what I'm going to do with the rest of my life? Is it just going to be about achievement and status and, conquest? And so I I knew some people who were Christians that loved me and extended grace to me, even though I knew they didn't like approve of my lifestyle. And that was foreign to me, honestly, because the only thing I knew was like, you naughty boy, God's going to strike you down, Yeah. I had a which I now realize is like a pagan view of God, like Zeus is going to strike you with lightning.
Sure.
And so I was like, well, let me check out this church that they go to. And at that point, I would have called it like a happy clappy church, like, because it was like people are raising their hand and they have guitars. This is a cult, and
happy
so
clappy. I've never heard of it. I love it. I love
but I mean, God did something in my heart in that season, and I very quickly got into a small group of other guys who were like cool and fun and weren't boring, and I was like, this is new. Like, I just thought Christians were boring, basically. And so they showed me a different way, and I very quickly like jumped into, like, I was leading a group, I was involved in church, and like pretty soon after that, I was now qualified as a physical therapist, but pretty soon after that, I met who is now my wife, and she is a pastor's kid. She told me she'd never marry a pastor, or pastor, as you guys say.
They all do it. My wife was a pastor's daughter and said she'd never do it. They can't, when they meet us, man, you can't help it. You just can't help it.
I was like too scared to tell her that I was feeling this call to ministry. I thought she was going to like break up with me. So, but eventually I kind of said, listen, I need to tell you something. I think God is calling me into ministry. And she said, I know, I think he's calling me too.
Wild. Okay, I love that it's both confirmed and you didn't have to wrestle that. That's great.
And to be honest, that's happened again, like in the call to when we came to the States. Like I'd been on a conference here. This is like jumping many years forward, but and I felt like God kind of said, I need you to move to America. And initially I was like, are you crazy, God? Like, send someone else. There's got to be someone else. Why me? We loved our life in South Africa, but I never told a single person. And I got back from that trip, and the first thing my wife said when I came through the door was, when are we moving to America? And And so that's why I always, kind of joke the voice of God and the voice of my wife sound pretty similar,
Sure.
So,
That's crazy.
but yeah, so we were on board and we kind of jumped both feet into ministry. But, we did the whole thing. Like I worked in the video department. I did small groups, youth, like moved all over the place. So in many ways, like in some ways there was a moment for sure where God did something in my heart and life. And then it was sort of like the slow burn of like, actually, wait a minute. I think this is what I want to do. And then the real kind of penny drop from a pastoral point of view is when our church back in South Africa launched its first campus. Actually, it was the second campus at that point. And I went and sort of took about 100 people with me, and we launched this campus together. And that thing exploded over a few years to like 1,000 people. And that's when I kind of knew like, okay, this is what I want to do. I actually love pastoring people. I love just the local church. And that's sort of been doing it ever since. That was 2007. And here we are.
For Americans, 1,000 people in Cape Town is insane. Right. 1,000 people here is still incredible. It's a large group of people, but Cape Town is a different animal for people that have never been there. And when people ask me, like, what's your favorite place? It's Cape Town. Cape Town, South Africa is one of my favorite places on the planet, and I love that place. I think Table Mountain is like the coolest thing to me, and going there, it's been awesome. So that's really cool. Do you guys get to go back often?
We have gone back a few times. My dad actually passed away quite recently, so I had to go back for the funeral. And so we actually live in Durban. The campuses are mainly there, but I studied in Cape Town, and so I have some family in Durban, some in Cape Town. But I agree, Cape Town, in my opinion, is the most beautiful city in the world, man.
It's just, you just stand in one spot, turn around, you just do a 360, and it's incredible beach, incredible mountains, great rugby pitch, great music, art, and food, and it's just like, it's for me.
And your dollar goes far with the exchange rate, man.
For sure.
Americans listening, you guys, all you have to do is get there, and then it's cheap.
That's right. It's a beautiful. I do absolutely love Cape Town. If anyone.
And I think that is something that I like is important for me. Like, we never left South Africa because we're like, the country's in trouble and we've got to get out of here. I mean, there is that sentiment, but for the most part, like, we'd been at that church for 16 years. I assumed I would retire there. I took over as the lead pastor at that church in 2018. We had a co-leadership model there, and we had no intentions to leave. We love South Africa. We have so much hope for the country, and the church is thriving there. And it's doing so well. And so this for us felt like a call. Like, okay, God, we'll go if that's where you're sending. So that's
awesome. I have a great friend. His name's Chris Ladd. He's a church planner out there. Okay, yeah. So he went to my dad's church. He was sent from Knoxville, Tennessee, and
no way. Okay.
Yeah. So he got crazy into long distance running when I went visited a couple of times, and he took me on some runs, which was insane. But it's awesome, dude. We ran Table Mountain. I thought to go up, and I thought I could die. I may die.
It's a trail runner's mecca, Cape Town.
It's funny. I was just I ran with him because he just, he wanted to. And then I got back to the States, and years later, I kind of jumped into it, and I was like, kind of regretted I never got to go and do that back with him. But, he's out there still, man. And it's awesome to get over there. So now you're on the Preach a Better podcast. I want to jump in here a little bit in terms of what's the biggest difference in preaching to a group in Cape Town and preaching to a group in Colorado? It's pretty similar. Do you approach it similarly? Give me a breakdown of is it culture? Is the Bible? I'm preaching the Bible no matter what. I don't allow where the room is, who's in the room to do it.
Of course you have to contextualize. I think, look, a human hearts are the same wherever you go in the world, and so that doesn't change. And obviously the Word of God doesn't change. I think, but how you apply that certainly does. And I think you have to be sensitive to the context. Like, I think. I would say, look, there's more landmines here to step on, for sure. I think what is interesting to me, and it's weird because when you move from another country to America, part of it is always so familiar because we grew up watching the same TV shows, Office, the Friends, whatever. Like we have the same context, and we kind of feel like we know it, but it's like all through the movies, like. When my kids first got here, it's like, look, they had a yellow school bus. Like, wow, because that's just like something we see. In fact, my kid's first day at school, he was 10 years old at the time. I said, how was the first day? He said, Dad, it was great. He said, the work's easy. We had pizza for lunch and chocolate milk, and the girls love my accent. So I'm like, dude, you're killing it.
You're killing it, dude. You're killing it, bro. You're killing it.
So it feels familiar, but then there's also, you realize, okay, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and every state is different. I mean, I think if we ended
Yeah.
up in Colorado, I mean, if we'd ended up in Seattle or
Yeah.
Alabama, like those would have been totally
Yeah.
different contexts. And so,
Yeah.
but the human heart is the same. I think what is different, and I think concerning, to be honest, is the way that political ideology has infiltrated theology.
Sure.
And I think
You
there's
think that's a state specifically, or is it in
that
general?
is a uniquely American experience.
Really? Really? Okay, get into
I
that.
mean,
Okay,
look,
tell me more.
everyone has politics and everyone has
Sure.
issues. I mean, every country you go to, but the way that it's been used as a mascot, in terms of like where Jesus is used as a mascot on both sides
Yeah.
is not helpful. And I think where issues that should not be conflated with theology have become conflated, whether it's immigrate or gun law or whatever. Like it just suddenly these things become, and because the politics in America is so identity based, like in South Africa you would say I'm Tom and I vote for this party or this policy, whereas here you say I am a Democrat or I am a
Right.
Republican. So it's like now I can't attack an idea or debate an idea because I'm attacking your identity. Whereas I'm just saying, no, I just want to have a conversation about that topic.
Interesting.
Where so it feels more tribal here, and I think that again, I'm all for like be an engaged citizen. Be engaged in. I think policy matters, voting matters, elections matter, all that stuff. But I think when political identity supersedes our identity in Christ, or as citizens of the kingdom, then we've got it backwards. And I think sometimes it's easy to become, American Christian, not Christian American.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So do you speak to politics or that ideology or that posture at all since you've been
Look,
here, or is that something?
I've been very careful because my posture has been, hey guys, I'm listening, I'm learning, I don't pretend to understand these things. Help me understand. Help me understand how this, and I've learned a lot. And I think, and I get where a lot of people are coming from on both sides. But I do think like part of that advantage is that I'm not like I can't vote right now. I'm not a U.S. citizen, and so I'm like, hey guys, let's just our hope is not in these systems. Like our hope has never been in these systems. Our hope is in an eternal King, and His name is Jesus. And so I'm just trying to constantly draw people back to who's your first allegiance. Like that's be invested, be a conscientious citizen, but hey, we're citizens of a different kingdom, and the way God's kingdom works is just it's different. It's upside down. The weapons are different, and so so I think that does change some of the preaching side, just in terms of like I'm very aware of like I don't want to step on landmines and immediately like put a barrier up between people like unnecessarily, and so I'm very sensitive to that. I think otherwise like I think we were chatting before the podcast like. Aurora is one of the most unchurched cities in the US. So it's 85% unchurched.
Wow.
People. So that like, and that's my heart. That's our heart as a church. We want to be a church for the unchurched, for the de-churched. How do we be an outward-facing church? How do we be known for what we're for, not what we're against? Like that's part of who we are. And we're just seeing hundreds of people. Just since I've been around, I know it's not all in the numbers, but we've baptized over 800 people.
Wow.
In the last
That's
2 years,
incredible.
and it's just incredible to see. And I think there is high there's high institutional distrust. Let me put it that way. Whether it's the government or whether that's the church, any kind of institutional. But along with high institutional distrust is high levels of spiritual hunger.
Yeah.
People are spiritual. People are curious. People like, and I think particularly the next generations like. They're not hung up on that stuff. They're like, tell me more. I want to know more about, and they're hungry for transcendence. Like they're hungry for meaning and purpose and actual, real, authentic encounters with God. And so I feel like the church has the answers that people are looking for. We have community. We have, all these things that the culture are desperate for. And so I've just tried to say, hey guys, like, this is, and so we've seen that come through. And I think that's been the exciting part is that if we just, people are, and even like with an invitation perspective, like I think the stats are like whatever 80% of people would come to church if someone invited them, but only like 5% of Christians actually invite. So we've just really leaned into like, hey guys, you have influence in your world that I don't have, that I don't have, but who are you investing in? Who are you inviting? And people are doing it, and we're seeing massive growth from that. So that's been exciting.
That's awesome. And so there's so many different philosophies in terms of how to grow a church, right, strategically. And then there's theology, and then there's philosophy on, hey, we're going to be, like you said, a church for the unchurched, the de-churched, the people that just aren't familiar, not in the Bible Belt, a little more progressive. Does that change how you approach even your preaching in the weekend services?
100%. 100%.
And so it's a little lower on the candle, lower church.
Well, I would
more
say
topical?
again, I feel like there's this weird like false dichotomy where like you can't do evangelism and discipleship at the same time. And I just don't believe that. I think we can do both. I think that a service should take a Christian who's been 50 years and challenge them to go deeper, quote unquote. And I think it should also be accessible to someone who has no church background. I don't think you have to choose between one or the other. I think it is a both and. I think it's little things like, because, sometimes the whole like church for the unchurched, or, the old sort of seeker-sensitive model would be criticized as like watering down. But I don't see it as that. I see it as helping people understand what it's about. So if we're going to sing about the blood of the Lamb, I'm all for that. Worship is for God. Worship is an opportunity for believers to, glorify God. But I'm also aware that there's someone in the room who's coming in going, what is this about? Is this like a vampire thing? I don't understand the blood, whatever. So all I have to do is say, hey guys, we're about to sing a song. It's got these lyrics in it. Like, just so you understand, this is what we mean when we say that. And then invite them to come along and say, hey, if you don't want to sing, that's also fine too, but we're going to engage in worship. So, and things like, even like when you say the Bible says, the problem with that is that if you're trying to appeal to people who don't believe in the authority of the scriptures, you're appealing to authority that they don't necessarily believe in. So, of course, I believe in the authority of the scriptures, inerrant, infallible, etc. But they don't necessarily have that vernacular or language. So I would then say, hey, instead of saying the Bible says in Romans 12, I would say, hey, listen, the Apostle Paul, who lived in the first century, he wrote a letter to a church in Rome, and they were struggling with some stuff like we're struggling with today, and this is what he said. So again, I'm still reading the scripture, I'm still presenting the truth, but I'm doing it in a way that is accessible to someone who's maybe never heard of that. And I think we assume biblical literacy, and it's just not there. So even when you say, oh, we've all heard the story of David and Goliath. No, we haven't. So you can just say, hey, there was a guy named David and he fought this giant named Goliath. Let me tell you the story. So I think the language is really important. I think that we tend to assume that people are on the same page when they're not. And I think we have a saying, assume they're in the room, as in assume someone who's never walked into church is sitting in the room today. And I think everyone knows that, because if you invite your unchurched friend to church, how different is the service?
Bro, it's crazy.
Yeah,
how
like
suddenly you are to everything.
Yeah, suddenly you're evaluating, I hope that guy doesn't sing. I hope he doesn't say that weird prayer. And so we're just trying to, when I'm writing my message, I'm bearing in mind that person in my head. I actually have a name of a friend of mine that I think of, who's very curious, but he's kind of skeptic, he's smart, he has an answer for everything. So as I'm preparing my message, I'm keeping that person in mind. And that doesn't mean that I'm excluding the person who's, wants to go quote unquote deeper. I think I also think the deeper thing needs to be unpacked, because when people say deeper, everyone has a different meaning. For some people, they want the Greek and the Hebrew and the the Bible code, some secret thing. For me, deeper is not shown by how much you know; it's by how much you look like Jesus. It's shown in the actions of how you actually go out and live your life. So, that's what I'm challenging people to. For people who have been Christians in our church for a long time, I'm saying, hey, the deeper part of this is whether you're going to live this out Monday to Friday. Yeah. That's so good. Love God and love others as I have loved you. Honestly, that's about as deep as you're going to get. Because
just do that one thing. You don't have to open the Bible again.
When you've got that waxed, when you've got that figured out, then come talk. Then I can talk to you about the Aramaic and the Greek. But go do that, because that's the.
I think you and I both know if someone were to ever master that, they would never come to you again with a complaint. They would, what I'm saying, they're never going to come. That's the beauty of that. And people, I agree with you. And I love that words matter because, when we work with churches as well, it's that, hey, exactly what you said, not the Bible says, but give them more context. And you're not being not true to the scripture. You're actually being more, there's education because like you said, there's such a curse of knowledge with pastors because so a lot of pastors, either if they did have market experience, they don't have it, don't remember what it's like. They're going to go up, they're going to go to work 50 hours next week in a place. We work around church people, we pray with church people, and so the language, the what we concerned and worried about is so internal in the organization of the church. It can get so, we can just get so blind to what they're dealing with and working through.
The way I say it is that the entropy in church is always towards the insider. Like the gravitational pull, because they're the ones writing the emails, sending the complaints, running the groups, paying the bills. Like, so the entropy is always going to be towards the 99, and they don't always like it when you go for the one. And so there's like a cost involved to like actually educate the church to be like, guys, we're going to leave the 99 for the one. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want the 99 to grow. And that's what I'm saying. It's not either or, it's a both and. A bad shepherd doesn't leave the 99 permanently and leave the gates untended and leave the sheepfold. Like, he's looking after that, but then he goes for the one. And how do we compel our entire church to do that? So I would say the entropy is towards that. You have to fight it. And even as a pastor, like you said something, I think the first question was like, before you were Pastor Tom, you were Tom. And we are actually pretty intentional even about language at our church. Like, no one calls me Pastor Tom, it's just Tom. And there's a reason for that because, well, first of all, the priesthood of all believers, hey, we're all in this together. I just happen to be the mouthpiece in this body, but you're the hands, you're the feet. No part is more important than the other. But also, like, I know for me, I've intentionally created communities outside of EHills Church, which is healthy for me. Like, I'm into high rocks and hybrid running and all these Spartan races and things like that. And I train at a gym where no one knows what I do, and they don't care if I'm Pastor Tom of this big mega church up the road. They just think of me as Tom, and if I drop the weight and say the wrong thing, no one's gonna.
That's right. That's right. Throw that. Yeah, get that ball. Row that rower.
And so I think that is honestly healthy for guys in leadership. Is like, do you have friendships outside of the world? Because even like obviously my closest friends, my confidants, the people that I'm leaning on and walking with, they're elders. But there's always this weird thing of like they're on my elder board, or I'm their boss, or you know what I mean? And so there's like this, or I'm their pastor, and they have a different, and I just think like it's healthy for leaders to have spaces outside of that where no one's impressed by you.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's hard, even when you think they're your friends. It's great, and there's some staffers and elders that will speak truth to power, but there's this separation when they know. It's just impossible not to have that. I love that perspective. So this coming Sunday, every American Bible-believing church is going to do what you say. You get one thing, one rule, one strategy, one prayer, one email. What would the one thing that Tom would do at every church? They're going to start executing it this Sunday and beyond that you believe that would make the most impact?
Oh man, that is such a good question. I need to think about that. So if success was guaranteed, they're going to go do it. Wow.
They're going to go do it. It's your, if you want to call it silver bullet.
Yeah.
But this is what I believe. If every American church would do this, this would happen.
I'm going to give this a bit of a roundabout answer. I don't know if you've seen the movie Wake Up Dead Man by Rian Johnson. So it's a Knives Out film. It's kind of like a murder mystery, one of these Knives Out things. But it's two pastors. It's actually two priests.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The guy with...
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin, sure.
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't know the name. Yeah, I watched that in theater.
And the young pastors, it's just two very different philosophies of ministry. The one is a fists up, like we're going to fight this world and we're going to fight the evil culture that's trying to destroy us. And the other is we're going to open our arms. And I get the thing of like we're losing ground, we got to stand for truth. Like I'm all for that, and I'm definitely more on that conservative side of things. But I'm just betting on love. I'm like, so if I would say to every pastor, I would say put your fists down and open your arms. Because that's the model Jesus did. I mean, Jesus could have fought, man. He could have brought the angels down and brought fire and taken the people out, but he opened his arm and stretched them out on a cross. And what looked like a loss in the world was a victory in the kingdom. And I think oftentimes what we see as a loss in the world, whether that's losing political power, losing influence, whatever that is, like, honestly, I think that's in the kingdom, it can be a win. And I feel like we're so busy trying to win the culture wars that we're losing people. And I feel like every pastor who stands on the pulpit, I would just say, love your people, because people are hurting, people are confused, people are lost. And if they know you love them, they'll listen to the truth. And but if we start with we're going to tell these people what they're doing wrong and fix them, whatever, I just feel like you're going to lose an entire generation.
Well, it's not only doing that to the audience, it's creating that within your audience as well. So you're creating a mob instead of creating a group of people that go out and love. I don't know if I forgot the preacher that goes, the guy on the middle cross said I could come.
Yes.
Right? It's not
100%.
anything else other than that. So I agree.
By this, they will know that you are my disciples. It's not by how right we are. It's not by how correct our theology is. It's not by how clever we can argue on social media.
Right.
By this, we'll know by how you love one another. And I just think it sounds simple and maybe cliche and overplayed, but I just feel like that's the marching orders that we've been given, is love our enemies, love the world. And that may feel like a loss. And yes, maybe when you open your arms, the dude knees you in the groin and punches you in the stomach.
Right.
But that's kind of the model Jesus. That's what he did,
No,
and so
I couldn't agree more. I love it.
And that's not to say we don't bring.
I love it.
That's not to say we don't bring truth. That's not to say we don't stand on what we believe, biblical conviction. Right. Absolutely, but I think it's the whole, like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think if people genuinely walked into our church and felt like, wow, this guy or this woman or this team, they actually want the best for me and they love me, I think that's going to go much further than any well-crafted sermon.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. So you mentioned High Rocks. You mentioned you were a gymnast.
Here we go.
I love fitness, and I'm crazy about fitness when it comes to pastors.
Okay.
I think a healthy pastor is a healthy church, health community.
I mean, how long is this podcast? Is this a 2.5? Is this a Joe Rogan?
No, I'm gonna let you. This is gonna be. I'm going. I know you, and if you don't know me well, but we could talk about that, because a lot of pastors, I think, struggle, and they assign it to mental health. They assign these things, and I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I tell every pastor, hey, if you were to sleep well, eat well, and move every day for 60 days, and you still have issues, go take all the medicine you want. But speak to that a little bit. I know if you went to high school, then collegiate gymnastics, and then on, so you may have never had the really unhealthy season in your life, physically, emotionally. But for the pastors listening that may find themselves just overweight, overeating because of what food, at least specifically, in America is if I'm sad I eat, if I'm happy I eat.
You guys have perfected sugar. I'll give you that.
The portion size, in ministry makes it hard because there's always cookies in the break room. Everybody's bringing things. Every meeting's over lunch. Every conference you travel and you get to eat, let's try these different things and all these. So if you have anything practically from someone that fitness has been a part of your life, what would you say are some things? They don't have to be able to do the cross on the rings. They don't have to be able to do the bars. Like give us a couple things that these guys can and take, and women that just can get them the next level in their journey.
I'm kind of actually writing a book about, I'm in the process. It's
I'll endorse it. How can I help?
It's called The Pastor's Body. And basically it's this idea of how do you care for your body and the body of Christ? It's because those two things are. I know there's lots of books about how to be fit and healthy, and I'm all for that. I eat, sleep, move. Andrew Huberman, the whole I'm in. I've got the Aurora ring. I'm tracking. I'm tracking. I'm macros. I'm doing all the things. Creatine. Let's go. Okay, but sometimes those can feel inaccessible for the average person, and I feel like you're also not everyone understands the burden and the weight of actually leading a congregation. There is just, for lack of a better word, there's just a spiritual weight that is, especially in that lead role like that.
Right.
Until you're in it, you don't really know it until you feel that weight. And so I want to help. I'm passionate about helping. Look, my background is extreme. Like I've, broke a world record at Everest and, climbed all the, like I've done those kinds of extreme things. I like doing those because I feel like I did a 24-hour race a little while back, and I just wanted to know like what would happen to my mind and my body at that point. And the thing about it is like when you've done those kinds of things, honestly, it's like, what else could life throw at you? Like, if I can do that, like, I know I'm not going to break in that situation. So now I'm going to have this difficult conversation at work where I have to let someone go from our team. Yeah, it sucks, but there's like a resolve and a confidence, like an inner confidence that comes from those things. I mean, that doesn't have to be extreme sport. It can be, hey, I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. I went to CrossFit, or I went to the gym and I ran on the treadmill for 20 minutes. Like that, if you start your day like that, it's like, okay, bring it on. What else have you got?
Bring it on.
So I think I'm borrowing from the Everest thing. Like I do a talk where I kind of speak about some of the things I learned on that Everest experience. And the first one is start small. It's just what as Craig Rochelle says, the small things that no one sees that creates the big things everyone wants.
What does Craig know? Can we be honest? What does he know?
And what does he know?
What does he know? What has he done? Honestly, what has he done?
Ridiculous, yeah. But it is. It's the small things. Like when I look back on our marriage, it's not like the big, trips we did, it's the small. It's like the welcome home kiss. It's the stacking the dishwasher. It's the saying I'm sorry. Like those are the things that build a lasting foundation. And we know that's true in our finances. We know that's true in church work. And yet, like when it comes to our health, we still want to believe that there's going to be this like magic formula or whatever, and I think it's just doing the small things every day. Like consistency beats intensity every time, and so if you're starting from nothing, like don't come up with the plan to like lose 30 pounds and go from training, never to every morning. Like that's, you're going to fail. It's progressive overload. Like when you go into a gym, the process is you pick up a weight you can handle, you do 10 reps, and you're sore on the next day, and then the next day you do 11 reps, and the next day you do 12 reps, and then the next day you add a little bit more weight, and you just progressively, you start to go. Now, if you just stay at the same weight, you're not going to improve. But similarly, if I just suddenly load up 300 pounds, I'm going to fail. And so I would say, like, whatever you are, figure out what that next progressive load is, and just do that one thing. Look, and honestly, I'm not all for like, if you're grossly overweight and you're struggling, like I get it. Like honestly, the food thing in South Africa America has been one of the hardest things for us. My kids have struggled the most because there's just so much bad stuff in the food here. Like
it's brutal
compared to the rest of the world. Like high fructose corn syrup's illegal everywhere else. Like here it's in everything. And so even for me, who's like dialed in my nutrition and tracked my macros and all that, like it's just much harder here. You have to be more intentional, more disciplined where you shop, what you buy. So I'm all for like, if there's things that can help you, like honestly, if you need to take GLP-1, take it. Like it's a great, like now if you're like just trying to lose a few pounds here and there, that's not healthy. But if you're like, you've tried everything and nothing, like if it can help you lose 20 pounds and take the pressure off your knees so that you can walk, like I'm all for it, do the thing, or get a coach that's got an accountability. Like when you wake up, there's someone you're paying is waiting for you, and if you don't get there, you're going to lose money. Like build it's that whole James Clear thing. We don't rise to the level of our motivation, we fall to the level of our systems. So for me, it's about,
it's crazy good.
That's so good. For me, it's about building a system that takes the willpower out of it. Like everyone thinks when they look at my training, like, oh, you're so disciplined. I'm like, no, I'm not. I've just built a system that it's taken the choice. I don't decide to wake up at 5 a.m. That's just the system that has to happen. And so, I'm just following the instructions.
There's still discipline in there. Let's not assume that we can build all the systems we want. There's still choices to be made every day that you do that is incredible, and it obviously shows in your organizational success and your spirit. There's just what helped me in my journey. I played sports heavily growing up, got injured, continued to eat at a level that I was training, and I got up to almost 285 pounds.
Sure.
And on that weight loss journey to losing over 100 pounds, the hardest thing for me was ministry. The sedentary style, the food all the time, the travel, the eating, and then you and I both know, even if eating well, eating out is just so difficult in terms of, like you saw, even if you don't track your macros, the portion size, what they cook, how they cook it, what's in it, it's very difficult. What helped me, and any pastor that I talk about, I don't know if you know what Celebrate Recovery is.
Yeah.
I think they should be filled. I think every Celebrate Recovery that churches do should be filled with people that are addicted to food.
Interesting.
I think it is a spirit of gluttony over a lot of us, myself included. And what helps me is admitting to people, hey, I'm addicted to food.
Wow.
When they say, hey, why do you eat this way? Why don't you just do this? Because I'm addicted to it. And when you know what I'm saying? If you're quitting smoking, you don't smoke on the weekends.
Yeah.
Right? It's just for me. And everybody's a little different.
The challenge is like, if you're, obviously if you're trying to quit alcohol, you wouldn't walk into a bar.
No, you wouldn't.
Whereas if you're trying to quit food, you walk into Costco and it's like...
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
That's
the only thing.
Let me say I'm a fan of Costco.
I love Costco. Well, that's the only thing. It's the only drug that most people are addicted to that they can't avoid. If you and I were trying to get a friend off of heroin, we're like, get away from it, stay with us, detox. You still have to eat every day. And that's why weight is so brutal for guys. But like you said, man, if you're overweight, you're going to be more tired. You're going to be more anxious. You're going to struggle with the difficult conversations. It, for me, seeps into every corner of your life. So whatever you have to do to get that book off the ground, I'm 100% in. I love it. I'm so passionate about it, and I appreciate you speaking to that, just that next step. So pastors listening, don't go run 24 hours, but after every meal, go walk for 10 minutes.
Yeah, 100%.
Just go walk.
And I will say this, like I think fun is an underrated part of this. Like personally, I would take a great training partner over a great coach, because I feel like AI can be your coach these days, to be honest. Like the program, you can get the program from wherever, but having that person, like a lot of my training, honestly, it's like zone 2 running. So I'm like conversational pace running. And yes, I can do that on the treadmill, but most of the time I'm like, hey, Dustin, let's go for a run.
We talk about the woods with a buddy is nothing.
We talk about life. We end up being, and we've become, most of the guys that I train with have become my best friends, because we've shared pain together. We've been through stuff together. We've done races together. And I think having that, and doing something, I mean, again, if you hate running, don't run. Find something that you do love, whether that's whatever it is. I think the enjoyment factor creates a much more sustainable rhythm and of course, not everyone wants to do the crazy stuff I do, but you find your tribe, like you find the people who are into that thing, whether it's pickleball or whatever it is.
But you said I think if you say you don't like running and you've only run alone, try it with somebody.
Yeah.
Because again, you and I talk about that conversational pace. For me, if you're going distance, if you can't talk, you're running too fast. So if you're trying to go for a distance and you're talking with somebody, I don't want to run alone. I'll do it, but when I'm training for long distance, throwing a buddy in the mix, dude. It's a like you said, that fun factor is key in terms of.
And there's so many options now. I mean, you've got Orange Theory and CrossFit, and you've got biking. I mean, and America has access, honestly, the access to trail systems, and don't take any of that for granted. Like in South Africa, it's not safe to do that. So
it's awesome if you go, but it's not safe.
Yeah. So I just think find the thing that you can do with others that you actually enjoy, because that's a much more sustainable path.
Yeah, I love that. As we wrap up, Tom, if you have just something a word that you've been working through for yourself, your family, your church, if you'll just speak that over the pastors listening, and just something either you're struggling with or something that you really felt God's had on your heart for your family, your church, just share something, just a word for our pastors of encouragement, exhortation, whatever you feel in your spirit, and then we'll wrap up.
That's great. Thanks for having me again, Mike. It's been awesome. I hope I've been able to help in some ways. I hope you've been able to understand my weird South African accent.
Every word, every beautiful word.
It's got me in trouble a few times. I've said the wrong things, but honestly, I just feel like if I'm speaking specifically to pastors and leaders in the church, man, what we do it's hard, man, and it's messy and it's complicated, and it's not like you can say my job's done. I built that thing, or I finished that job, or the book's balanced. Our work is gray, and it's nuanced, and it's never done, and people are messy, and we're messy, and we got our stuff, and I feel like there's a burden with it, and there's an exhaustion with it that I don't think everyone understands, where it's you can be tired in your bones, and and also everything can be going great, but you're just, and so I want to speak to, like, I think especially to the pastors who feel like maybe they've tried to do the, like, I'm going to drop my fists and I'm going to open my arms and I'm going to love people and I'm going to take the high road. When I get that horrible email or that person says, oh, we did this and we did that, you end up, we don't get to respond. Like, we don't get to be defensive. We have to just swallow it and take it and take the hit. And I feel like there's some people listening who maybe have just taken a lot of hits over the years, and it's cumulative. Stress is not something that happens overnight. It happens over years, and we can keep running for a long time, and we can keep producing great sermons because. But my encouragement to you is, like, I guess I would say, you are a son, and you are a daughter before you were a pastor, and long after you were going to be a pastor. And I just feel like, I know maybe that sounds cliche or trite, but I feel like lean into who God says you are and not what everyone else says you are. And whether you preach a great sermon next Sunday or a terrible sermon, like, that doesn't change your standing with the Father. And, I love that line in the scripture. It says, show me the Father and that will be enough for us, and I just feel like that would be my prayer, my longing is, like, I feel like God's saying, I see that you've been hit. I see that you've taken the knocks. And you've done that for me, and I love you for that, and I'm proud of you for that, and keep doing that, but you're not alone in that walk. And I think that's the promise, not that we won't take the hits, but that God's with us in it. And I think that's way more powerful than we kind of realize.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, guys. And what I'm taking away from this, a bunch of stuff, but I'm betting on love. That was my favorite line and just, pastors, hear that, sit with that, say it out loud to yourself in your time with the Lord, that I'm betting on love. What does that look like for you? Is that currently happening for you? How is that looking for your organization and your language and your posture of your staff, your church, your community? We are here for you. And until next time, thank you so much, Tom, for being here, praying for EHills.
I really appreciate
Hope you guys can continue to blow up and just be just a pillar in Aurora in the community. But pastors, we love you guys, and we'll see you again on the Preach It Better podcast.
See you guys.